Alright, it's finally here. I'm finally getting around to making a settings guide for mid-tier PCs, even low-tier PCs. Yeah, because there's so many tricks I'm finding that allow me to get outrageous performance, really, really good visuals, and yeah, I'm going to explain kind of how I do it. I have a 3060 Ti, so obviously everybody's cards are different, yada yada. But the principle of what I'm saying will apply to every card, no matter what it is. So yeah, let's get into it. But let's pop in the air real quick. But the first thing I want to talk about is this program right here. It is called MSFS. Oh, sure, we're rolling. MSFS 2020 AutoFPS. So I'm sure you've heard of it. If you haven't, check it out. I love the implement's a little dog. That's fun. But basically, the way I use it is my terrain level of detail is currently at 25 when I am on the ground. So let's get up in the air and we'll see it click over to 100. By the way, we're at Aspen, I believe. Beautiful airport. We got airspeed alive. Release some back pressure. I didn't set my trim, so we'll see how it goes. All right, we're in the air. We got some CRJs here. Thank you, FS Traffic, for beautifully realistic. I don't know. I guess they could go to Aspen. I can't imagine that there's a bunch of United CRJs here, but anyway. So once we cross 300 AGL, once we get up to 300 feet, my terrain level of detail is going to increase to 100 from 25. So what that does is allow you to use GSX. It allows you to do all kinds of things. It allows you to, for the most part, I mean, I know my system hasn't had this issue, but I know a lot of people struggle with the, you can see it kind of bugging out since I'm recording in 1440 and it's having to load everything to 100, but after that, we're good. Now we're at 100 TLOD. It looks spectacular, but a lot of people have issues with stuttering and stuff like that on approach, so whenever you're below 300 feet AGL, above ground level, that's going to kick it down to 25 on the TLOD, which is so nice. And it's just seamless every landing, no matter the plane, A380, 777, whatever. With traffic, I'll show you my settings now, but so I'm playing in 3840 by 2160 with a 3060 Ti, and I'm going to show you how I do that. And I have 8 gigabytes of VRAM, so not a lot at all, especially since I'm using FrameGen, which I will get into. So, and I usually play with my DLSS now on quality, but for the recording, I'm going balanced. Because I want to record in 1440 to really kind of show a better representation of what it looks like, even though it's even higher in person. But so, like I said, above 300 feet, we're at 100 on the TLOD. So I told you all about that. But here's what I've knocked down to give my VRAM a whole bunch of room to FrameGen and run at a high resolution. So buildings I have set to low. You don't notice it. You might, well, I was going to say in you don't even notice it then. Like I was in San Francisco the other day and it looked fantastic. When you get up close, do this. I want you to try all my tricks yourself, but go in drone camera mode, get right up next to a building, and then swap between high, ultra, low. It's not that big of a difference. And when you're flying, you don't notice it, and it actually helps a lot, especially in cities. Hello. Low on the buildings. Trees, medium. Same thing. You don't really notice it. And it reduces VRAM a lot, these two here. Grass and bushes, I can run at ultra. It doesn't change that much, but I like to just give extra cushion on the VRAM here. But objects level of detail is at 100, so you know you can fart around with that. Volumetric clouds to medium was one of the bigger aspects of what made my VRAM come down enough to be able to use FrameGen at high resolution. So it really doesn't bother me. Like, let's go look at the clouds currently. Like, it doesn't look bad, especially with the high resolution. It makes up for all the things that you're lowering. Because I've always been under the assumption that you want a lower resolution with all the settings turned up. But I am dead wrong, at least in Microsoft Flight Sim. Like, look at that. That's a beautiful picture. But at least in Microsoft Flight Simulator, that's not the case. High resolution, lower settings. But let's get back into it. Clouds look great. You don't notice that much at all. I used to have them on Ultra, and it kills your VRAM. So, volumetric clouds, medium. Texture resolution. These two right here are the most important. Make sacrifices on these two right here if you do anything. Texture resolution on medium, you crank up your resolution, you're going to be happy with the results, and your VRAM's going to love it. So everything else, these are what I have. If you want to copy that as a baseline and then branch out from there. But I do want to mention a couple things. Cube map reflections, ambient occlusion, contact shadows. I know with those three I had on the highest settings, and I went through individually. Actually, on election night, I had, you know, a news thing up, watching that, and I was just going through these settings because it was a perfect time. You know, I'm not really doing anything else. Might as well do this, and I just dropped him down to see if I noticed it. Cube map reflections, contact shadows, even terrain shadows I had on the highest setting. I had it up to that. But after lowering all of these, I didn't notice it visually. I couldn't tell. And I'm sure there's certain scenarios where it would, you know, obviously look nicer on close inspection with these up, but I'm never going to notice that unless I pause and zoom in to a certain reflection that blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't have the VRAM for it, and I don't need it. So chop them, get them low. Same with this. Ray marched reflections. Low is just fine. Low is just fine. I like my bloom on. Call me crazy. Excuse me. I've been playing around with motion blur on medium. I like it. I'm a big motion blur fan. It blends my camera angles together really nicely. So I just started messing with that. I usually keep it on low, but it's on medium. Everything else, just kind of standard. Lens flare on, of course. Windshield effects, I just made a video on that being on Ultra. It's very worth it. It's such a nice setting that I never really paid attention to before. But everything else, like I said, copy this as a baseline. Tell me what you think, and then kind of branch from there. But so those are my flight sim settings. Secondly, we've got, let me drag it over here. Let me bring it up here. Lossless Scaling. This is the program I use for frame generation. This is on Steam, and it is $7. So keep that in mind. The recording, looks like it's bugging out a bit, but it isn't on my screen. $7, and I'll kind of show you my settings on this. Let me unscale for a second. This is what I found to be pretty good for my setup. Just try it out. But yeah, $7. I'm playing on a 4K TV, by the way. And I've got 2 monitors, that's why I have that on. But you cannot beat $7 for FrameGen. And I always have issues recording while using it. It kind of wants to hang out there. Let me do this, hold on. Oh, I think we're back. And then I have a keybind tied to turn it on. And you can see the the frame rate up in the top left corner. The bottom number is what I'm getting. So all I really need to achieve with my settings and my resolution is 30 frames a second, roughly. Because once you hit 30, Lossless is going to double it to 60, and it does a really, really good job. I don't notice any visual sort of distortion when using it. It's been maintained and updated, and it's come a long, long way. Because when it first came out, it looked horrendous. And I swear, within 4 months, it was unbelievable. So, that's what I'm rocking with now. And just, it's insane the amount of performance I'm getting out of a card that's not supposed to do this. As far as I'm aware, I would need a 40 whatever to get a lot of these things. Like, it just looks great. Of course, you got the lines from Flight Sim 2020. That's not a card thing, but I hope the 1440 recording is doing it justice, because it's just spectacular. But yeah, so obviously I'm in a prop plane now, but I swear I did a flight recently in the Phoenix, and I had full traffic on. I had all my mods running, everything I could think to slow this system down. I did, because I wanted to like stress test it, and it held up really well. Like right now it's locked at 60 for the most part. I think of the Phoenix traffic major, I think it was at Charlotte Douglas add-on airport. You know, obviously there's more taxing airports to be at, but I was hitting like a low point would be like 50 frames a second, and it was only for a brief second, and then it'd go back to 60. So it's amazing. And if you have any issues on your end, adjust your DLSS from quality or balance to performance. And I know that sounds gross, like your gauges are going to get messed up and all this stuff, but I mean, I don't know what resolution your monitor can handle, but me being on the TV, having it at, you know, 4K, like the DLSS doesn't mess with that much when you have it at such a high resolution. Even if you're cranking it down to performance or maximum performance, even sometimes, like sometimes you'll notice a little distortion on the speed tape of like an Airbus or something, but hardly at all. I remember when I was playing in 1440 and I tried using DLSS, it looked terrible. And it was, your gauges just looked horrendous, and there was nothing you could do about it. But since going up in resolution, lowering my other stuff to give my VRAM plenty of room, I am absolutely smitten, you could say. But I'm trying to show you an example of the motion blur between camera changes. You don't really notice it when you're just using head tracking and stuff, but whenever I go abrupt to a different camera, it kind of blends it a lot nicer than usual. But yeah, try those out. That's what I've been rocking for my settings. I've been getting a lot of comments about what I'm using for frame gym, when I'm doing this, when I'm doing that. Hopefully that will help answer those questions, and hopefully help you get a lot more performance out of your budget setup that you got. And yeah, like I said, I've got a 3060 Ti. Bought this on Facebook Marketplace for a pretty good price, I'm not gonna lie. And I got it from some gal who just bought it, got a MacBook afterwards, a couple months after, never used it again. So don't be afraid of Marketplace. Always look at the profile, you know, do your due diligence. But yeah, man, I am so happy with the performance here. And I would love to, you know, load into the Phoenix in a city and all that stuff, but it's hard to record 1440 over top of doing all this, so, you know, crunch it with the smooth. If you're gonna make videos, you're gonna have to lower some settings. And like I said, my DLSS usually is at whatever the step up from your quality, but I know recording on top of that's not gonna do well. But that's my settings. God bless you. Give them a try. And I love you.